Prairie Ridge Health in Columbus is now offering dermatology services. The board-certified dermatologists at Prairie Ridge Health specialize in treatment of skin, hair, and nails, and cares for patients at any age or stage. Meet your new dermatologist at prairieridge.health or call 920-623-1200 to set up an appointment. New patients are welcome. Prairie Ridge Health accepts over 70 major insurances. Prairie Ridge Health, inspired by you.
95.3 FM, WBEV FM.
The following is a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of the Beaver Dam Unified School District, not WBEV or Good Karma Brands.
And good morning. This is Let's Talk here on 95.3 WBEV and also Daily Dodge TV. It's our debut on DDTV. I am Wade Bates, and I am, as always, excited to bring in the esteemed superintendent of the Beaver Dam Unified School District, Mark DiStefano. Mark,
hey,
how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Did your contract get renegotiated now that you're on TV, that you're going to get a little bump in your salary here?
Definitely not. Definitely
from
not.
the company?
Yeah. No. Oh, from you guys,
yeah, from
maybe.
us.
I don't know. But I did appreciate Ninja helping with the makeup
Yes.
beforehand, so I'm really excited about that. I think you did a wonderful job there.
See, we were talking about that this morning on the morning show about if you would wear makeup or not.
Yeah.
Have your daughters ever put makeup on you?
If they have, I was probably sleeping.
Okay.
So,
Because I'm not sure you thought I was a bad father that I didn't let my get a pedicure or a manicure or let them put makeup on me.
I don't think they felt compelled to have to do that because, my two daughters are relatively close in age, so they could, do the experimenting on themselves.
Well, so you look good here with the makeup. The makeup job that Ninja did was great.
Yeah. I grew out the beard a little bit more to cover more of my face, so that was the strategy.
Perfect. Well, we are here as always, and glad to have another platform to have the message, get out and reach people with Daily Dodge TV, and lots going on at the Beaver Dam Unified School District. We're like less than like 8 weeks, maybe 7 weeks away from
about a month and a half. About a month and a half. So when this time of year really, really ramps up, there's a lot of great things going on. Later on, we'll go through a kind of a list of activities for people to have on the radar. But it's an intense time, and there's a lot of awesome things going on. So as spring play just wrapped up. That was wonderful, good production. It would be great to get even more people out to see those, but really, really proud of the kids, the cast, the crew, the staff that participate in that. But this time of year really requires a lot of focus and commitment for the kids and the staff. The weather gets nice. People start getting that itch. They want to be outside a little bit more. Unfortunately, today we've got a little bit of rain. But then, all these other things, these other demands and realities start to affect our staff and our students' schedules differently because we're really in the heart of this testing season, and our elementary kids are working through a lot of these required state assessments and doing a great job, I'm sure. But for the staff, that takes a little bit extra demand too, and focus, and keeping that vibe where it needs to be. So this time of year, I just think constantly about our staff and the great work they're doing, and really appreciate our kids kind of diving in and being part of that learning. And really embracing the reality they have to demonstrate, their knowledge and what they've learned throughout the year.
You know how I know my kids are still engaged? The other day, I have 3 of them in the district, and I asked, how many days are left of the school year? And they didn't know.
That's awesome.
No, because sometimes, we're counting down, can't wait. No, they didn't know. They go, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell you. I'm sure there's some staff and kids that definitely know. I don't know if either one of my kiddos would know that. My wife might, but she's a teacher. But before I forget too, as we get into May, there'll be some nice opportunities for people to express their gratitude for teachers and for our staff and our district. It's, we get into that, National Teacher Appreciation Week or Teacher Appreciation Day. That'll be before our next show. So just want to really encourage people to take time to celebrate somebody they know in education. As a district in Beaver Dam, we recognize our teacher, but we really focus on recognizing all of our staff because we're all part of that shared teaching and learning lift. So we'll have some things in place to help honor them.
Oh, it's always good. Except it's they always say it takes a village. And every single person that sets foot their foot through the door plays an impact in somebody's education and development.
Yep, it's really important. The other kind of group of people that I wanted to make sure we celebrate early during our time together today is just the community that has taken time to engage in the survey and provide some feedback. We'll talk a little bit more about that survey later on, but we've gotten good participation. I'd love to see even more participation, but what's really been nice is people have called, they've asked questions. I know I referenced this last month, but if folks had, certain things they wanted more clarity on, they reached out. Our community is very capable of being very candid. And what I found through this process as well, there's still groups of people who, maybe tend to take to the social media platform to express concerns or maybe, put questions out there. I found that there's been a really nice direct contact component too. So people are picking up the phone or stopping me or stopping somebody else and asking some questions. And I think the technology that we have even to do something like this is awesome. Nothing beats like that face-to-face interaction, that conversation, and people have been willing to do that, and that's been really, really appreciated. And I think that's a positive reflection of kind of the core foundational values of our community. People want to have, a salt of the earth conversation face-to-face, and the more people that do that, I think for all things, whether it's related to, some prospective projects for us or something else, like that's good character, that's good habit, that's a good expression of values, and we appreciate it.
Oh, it is good. They have people, because you should have questions, and some of the things, if you got the survey in the mail, you could, there's a lot of information there, but rather than just, wondering and thinking, you're very good at answering questions, and other people can answer questions about things that happen, and
try to be.
No, but then, you get the right answer, because obviously when it all comes down to it, you want everybody, whether, to make and have an informed and correct decision of what the facts are.
Yeah. So that's been really awesome. And then one individual that I wanted to call out before diving into some things about kids is I wanted to thank and celebrate again Gary Spielman. So he's one of our board members who's made the decision not to run again. So he essentially retired, and this is kind of that sunsetting time for him. He had his last board business meeting just the other day, but 33 years of really committed service in our district and our community, and you probably can't find a building without a plaque that has his name on it associated with some type of project or effort. And it was just really neat to be able to celebrate him at the last board meeting a little bit. And him and really his whole family have been all in for supporting education and supporting the value of Beaver Dam. I mean, even his sons who have moved away, they're actually both in education. They come back every year to help support some distribution of some scholarships that are associated with the family, and just some really, really neat things. But we're going to miss him on the board. But the nice thing that we know about Gary is he's always going to be involved and always going to be rooting for kids in our community and best things for the district.
And it's not just showing up to a meeting a couple times, once a month or whatever, right? There's a lot that goes into when you're on the school board. And, Gary, you mentioned he is very visible. I mean, he cared, and he still does. It doesn't matter what the event was. He was always seemed to be there.
Yeah.
You see him or his family there, and they'd be, hey, how's it going, Gary? And
Yep.
It was always good to see him.
Yeah, super fan, right in the mix, and have conversations with a lot of people. And I had mentioned this at that board business meeting too. But one of the ththings about him, we talked about earlier, if he had a question, he was going to come look you in the eye. He's going to ask you the question, gather the information to better understand, things that maybe he'd heard or things that he wanted to have more clarity about. So that type of boardsmanship is something that's of really high value, and it's something that we really appreciated while he was serving the board.
All right, we're talking with the Beaver Dam Unified School District Superintendent Mark DiStefano here on Let's Talk on 95.3 WBEV and Daily Dodge TV. Now, there's lots of stuff going on activities-wise right now as well. We kind of talked about that kind of stuff, Mark, but whether it be activities and sports are kind of, you never know what's going to go on, but where do you want to start with activities?
Well, I wanted to do a little bit of a shout out to our high school students. All of our kids are very proud of the involvement. So we could talk about even at the elementary, and I know that you're probably familiar with different running clubs that some of our elementary schools have done. Great participation in that this year. You've got staff, you've got parents who are really involved. So we're seeing a lot of that, just increased connectedness. But at the high school level, we track numbers. We look at what those participation levels look like. And we're well over 600 kids in our high school that are actively involved in one or more extracurricular, which is really good. And we try to promote that, with families when they come into the high school. We try to promote that with families at any level, but having those additional points of contact, points of engagement, whether it be with peers or getting to know other staff, whether it's giving back to the community or performing on the field, like those all add value to the academic experience. So when we have over 600 of our kids involved in those things, that's really, really a celebration. And one thing that stood out to me when I was looking at the statistics on that is the level of engagement from our freshman girls. So they're over 70% really all in engagement, which is really, really high for the kids. And that's something that I think we can be really proud of. And those kids are going to reap the benefits of that level of engagement and connectedness. And it makes the whole academic experience, which is the core foundation of what we're trying to do, but it makes that more enriching and adds value to that. So really proud of it.
Yeah, I think, I have a freshman right now, and I remember even this year I have 2 freshmen coming in next year, and they went to the kind of the preview night that they had a couple months ago. And one of the stops that you had was many of the organizations and extracurricular type things were on display there. They're on a table, and they're like, Dad, I can't believe how many different things we can do here besides go to school. And there is, no matter what your interests are, there is probably some sort of a club, some sort of organization that you can get involved with.
Yeah, there are so many things at our school, and I think schools have been really deliberate about trying to diversify their portfolio of opportunities for kids. But yeah, I mean, whether it's an interest in, electronics, robotics, computer programming, whether it's associated with, agribusiness or the, FFA, or it's a sport, or, it's trap, or, I mean, there's so many different clubs and activities. And the other thing too is we really support kids in, starting clubs if they want to start their own, and working with them to support that experience. So there really is something for everybody, and we're seeing more and more kids engage in that. But one of the other things I want to remind folks of is, sometimes you think about that, and we know that our different families have different realities and obligations, and sometimes different activities, whether it be with us or whether it be in the community, tend to be coupled with at least a feeling of there's going to be some other financial commitment or obligation, whether it's gas to transport or whatever else it is for kids to get to something. Just want to remind folks that, don't be deterred by those things. Our schools do a great job of helping remove some of those barriers. We want as many kids as possible. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, what your socioeconomic reality is. We want to support you being involved. And I would say our community as a whole, Beaver Dam, when I think about different organizations that are maybe more closely connected with the city, and those organizations almost always have a really direct path of support for families to help make sure that finances or other logistics aren't a barrier, or we minimize that barrier to the extent possible. So just really encouraging, parents and families to help support their child being involved and experiencing those opportunities early and often.
Yeah, there are no, that shouldn't be a burden. If you have a child that wants to be involved, contact somebody, and they'll find a way to make it happen.
Yep, they will. And all the boards or organizations, they do a phenomenal job of supporting those families.
We're talking with Beaver Dam Unified School District Superintendent Mark DiStefano on 95.3 WBEV and Daily Dodge TV. So lots of activities going on, and School of the Month. I mean, you want to move on to that yet, or do we have any more activities? No, it's Lincoln Elementary, the Lightning.
The Lightning. It's a great place to be. You know that. So Lincoln Elementary, a little bit of background, 2-section elementary school, built in the 60s. Lincoln and Wilson are kind of like sister schools in the era that they were constructed and who built them, etc. So really a great place, a little over 200 kiddos there. So when I say 2 sections, it's just to remind people that means that, there's 2 classes for kindergarten, there's 2 first grade, 2 second grade, etc. But new principal this year, Mr. Wyatt Tramberg, and Wyatt's got experience as a counselor and a principal, came to us, kind of a regional guy. He's got some connections, Fall River area, etc. So familiar with the area, familiar with the opportunities. Really was really passionate about becoming part of the team in Beaver Dam, and doing a great job. In that first year, it's really important to. It's always important to build relationship, but that first year, it's really important to hone in on that. And he's been doing a really good job of making those connections and supporting the staff, connecting with families. So really pleased with where things are at right now at Lincoln.
Lincoln's like I said, it's a great school, and they've all the schools have great tight staffs. But I know the Lincoln staff. Brenda Rigi called in the other day, and I think she brought deviled eggs for the whole staff on her birthday one day.
Yeah.
They did. I think it was, I forgot what she dubbed it though during their lunch hour that they had together though. But it's cool people at Lincoln, and it's fun when you were driving by during the day to see the kids outside. All those schools right in downtown.
Yeah.
You mentioned Wilson. Were they built at the exact same time?
So I don't think that they were quote unquote punched out, but really like that between 63 and 65. Okay. I think they actually finished construction at Lincoln right around 64.
Okay, were they exactly the same school? I mean, because sometimes you build at the same time. It's like, let's put the same two schools here, just put them in different spots.
Yeah, no. So the core of the building and really the general layout, including like the office space and how that was designed, was essentially the same. But Lincoln was built a little bit bigger just because of the demand of students. So there's a part of Lincoln that's kind of extended beyond where the Wilson footprint would essentially be. But generally speaking, I mean they're close to being mirror images of one another. But when I think about, you just mentioned the staff, like Lincoln staff, veteran, outstanding, super knowledgeable, super talented. But something else that I didn't completely realize and appreciate until this year when I was kind of making the rounds with various PTOs talking about different realities and needs in the district. The PTO at Lincoln is wonderfly engaged.
Very active and engaged.
Very, very active. And all of our PTOs are awesome. So make no mistake, I'm not trying to dog on anybody, but their rate of participation and engagement at PTO meetings, really, really impressive. So that's something that I think just speaks to kind of the fabric, kind of that, smaller maybe learning community niche that they're able to have there, but was really, really impressed with the engagement.
That's one of the things, you talk about everybody kind of, coming together to help education. PTOs they're very vital in every school building, isn't it? Because you get people coming in and helping out and you're making an impact in so many different ways you can't probably even name them all.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, unfortunately, I think people think like PTOs and they think of fundraising. Yeah. And that's certainly an aspect.
Bake sales.
Yeah, bake sales or, different activities they might coordinate. And certainly, different funds to either, I don't want to say offset, but maybe enhance certain areas or add value to certain things that just aren't in budgets. That's part of it, but really it's about kind of that leadership. It's about that energy, and it's about making sure that the messaging and there's synergy with that, so that the parents can maybe reciprocate some of those focus areas, and they can help build capacity with that as a larger learning community to help support other parents in understanding, hey, why are they doing that? So that engagement provides that avenue and adds that kind of value, which I would argue is even more important, obviously, than anything financial. They also do such a good job. I mentioned earlier, like as we get into like teacher appreciation, staff appreciation, our PTOs are phenomenal of making sure that staff are treated really well during that time.
Anything else, highlights from Lincoln that you want to talk about before I ask you about the community survey I got in the mail?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, two other things from Lincoln. Really pleased to see they're being very deliberate about recognizing leadership and high-quality character traits in students. So they've got some thematic things that are aligned by month that they do. Some deliberate education with our students to make sure that they understand what certain critical components make up a really good citizen. So really pleased with how they're doing that. And again, as I referenced, like recognizing that leadership on a regular basis. It's really important foundational things that they do, and just really pleased with how engaged the staff, and it's great to see how excited the kids are getting about those things.
It's always great when you see kids, excited, and they are definitely at Lincoln Elementary.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking with Beaver Dam Unified School District Superintendent Mark DiStefano. Let's talk here on 95.3 WBEV and Daily Dodge TV. If you want to take a look at us on Daily Dodge TV, you can like Daily Dodge TV on the YouTube, and you can see all of these events, games, and previous things that have been broadcast. Also go to dailydodge.com and click on the Daily Dodge TV icon, and it is right there. And excited to have basically 9 hometown today, our Let's Talk at 11 o'clock programming, and then community comment going to be on Daily Dodge TV along with all of our sports.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I appreciate you, like I said, coming on in here today. And now I got my community survey in the mail, read it from cover to cover, and I actually filled it out and mailed it back, Mark.
You did?
I was thinking about doing it online, but then I figured I put it in the mail.
Yeah. No, well, we appreciate it. Did it look like this one?
I think it did look like that one, but it had a few more folds in it.
You can't do the zoom in, but it looked like this. So hopefully, I covered up. Where did it go right here? Yes. Yeah, there you go. So every residence in our district boundary should have received one of these. We are generally pleased with the rate of response that we've gotten. So there's target percentages that you try to hit. And this is, again, facilitated by a third party. And we do that because we want to make sure that, we're not in the mix looking at and navigating those numbers. Not that we would ever be tempted, but we want that survey to go to somebody who's an expert at looking at those surveys, interpreting those results. And what happens is, based on those results, they're going to share some thoughts and sentiments with the board, and they've got a larger context because this group, School Perceptions, works with hundreds of school districts throughout the Midwest, many school districts in the state of Wisconsin, and their job is to basically provide the board with the most accurate context possible to help inform the board then and what they might consider for next steps. So these surveys are really, really important. The context is really, really important. And I know sometimes when people get the surveys, they look at it, they kind of skim through that first page, and they want to dive into the questions, right? They want to dive into what are they looking to know and understand. But just remember on the front of that survey too, one of the things that it references that if you have more than one voter in your residence, each survey has a unique code that person can contact an individual to get a unique code for the other voter that's in the residence. So that's something that I think sometimes people skim over that part a little bit, and I know that we've had folks do that, but just be reminded that avenue is there, and that the survey's open till April 22nd. And if anybody has any question about that survey or about how to access another survey, because maybe they didn't get one, maybe there's, like I said, there's another voter in the house, they just need to call our district office. And when they call it, they can punch in 1114. That'll get them to Mary Postema, and she will help navigate that with them. She'll help set them up. We're trying to make it as easy and smooth as possible for folks. There's some other resources referenced on the survey, but we want to hear where people are at as it relates to the things that we're looking at and relates to our needs. And the more voice that we get, the better understanding than we have, and the more information our board has to consider as we kind of look at locking in what that next step in the plan is going to be.
Sure. So again, it's a community decision, a district decision, and everybody who's in the district, have their opinion known, and you want to do what you want to move forward and make decisions on what the future holds by kind of finding out what everybody wants. It's not just a few people making the choice.
Yeah, and I think too, we got a couple different pieces of feedback about the survey. And when people take it, they look at it and they're like, I was at one of your presentations and I felt like, I learned a little bit more there. I felt like maybe there was, maybe a little bit more information that might help somebody else if they're just getting that survey. And I would say, the survey provides a really basic foundational background of information. If people recall, those that have taken it, it kind of lays out different realities, right? Different facts or context that they should have in consideration of a question that we're looking for feedback on. But the other thing that folks can do, if they didn't have a chance to go to one of the several community engagement opportunities that we had, whether it was coordinated with a service club or whether we went to the Watermark or had open houses, etc. If they didn't have a chance to do that, and we realize everybody's busy, if you just go to our website, and right as one of the main buckets, there's a facility bucket, right? If you click on that, along the right, there's a lot of really nice, simple, easy to read resources that take you even a layer deeper into the detail if you want it, if you want that context. And one of the things that we had put together was a facility planning FAQs document. And what's interesting about that is those questions that are on that FAQ came from people. Typically, we heard those questions more than once. We even picked up on some of those questions from monitoring different conversations that were taking place.
Sure.
And there's really, really interesting context for people to have. And this is just facts. These are just matter of facts. and information about, okay, what if we do this or what if we don't do this, right? A little bit more detail into, some of the location questions that come up when we talk about the prospect of someday a new middle school, right? What about the current context of the middle school, or what about Washington, and what other types of, so these different questions that we've heard, we've deliberately put those onto a simple FAQ. There's great information and context in there. It's vetted information. It's simple, and I think for some folks that's really, really helpful to be able to cross-reference with that. And I would encourage people too, if they're having a conference, if I'm talking to Wade, my neighbor Wade, and Wade's like, oh, I heard this, and I heard that. Well, we all hear a lot of things, right?
Sure.
Either call, like, to make sure that you've got accurate information, or at minimum, my thought is, you hop on the website. It's literally 2 clicks. Once you're on the website, it's literally 2 clicks. The facility planning bucket, and then you pick what you want to learn more about. Click on that, and you're going to have the answer. And if you're not satisfied with that, or you want more information, call. And if somebody doesn't answer, we're going to call you back, because it's really important that our community just knows, right? We realize and appreciate, people's feedback might look different, but we just want that feedback to be nested in actual fact. And as much as I love my neighbors, not all of our neighbors have all the most accurate information, and we want to make sure that people have it.
Talking with Mark DiStefano, Superintendent of the Beaver Dam Unified School District on 95.3 WBEV and Daily Dodge TV. So you mentioned the surveys here. The 22nd you want to have them in, which is Monday.
Yeah.
What happened? What's the status of now? What happens after those are in and then they start compiling? Is there a timetable? Is there or what do you do from there?
Yeah. So at that point in time, basically my deodorant fails.
Okay.
And I start sweating profusely. No. So what happens is they get School Perceptions takes those surveys and they start processing through those, and then they'll run their reports and they'll sift through the data, they'll sift through the comments, any context that they can have. And then they'll essentially generate a report. They will then present that report in likely, the way I think this is going to kind of ferret out is there's going to be an initial touch point in May of some general context for our board. And then our board would then likely in June hold a workshop. So a workshop is when the board all comes together, so you have a quorum, but they're not there to conduct business. They're there to learn and have a conversation. And the board typically has 2 to 3 workshops a year. So it's not a traditional committee meeting, which they have nearly every month. It's not a traditional board business meeting. They're not going to necessarily take action at the workshop, but they'd have a workshop in June where the School Perceptions group then goes through in detail, okay, what information is this survey providing you? What context is it? And what's their perspective and opinion? And that also gives the board then an opportunity to process through that context and then kind of weigh that against, what are the most pressing needs, realities? What types of things based on this context, do we feel comfortable maybe, bringing forward to the community? What types of things maybe based on the community's feedback do we need to maybe audible, maybe make an adjustment, et cetera? So they'll kind of go through that processing and wrangling of all that information early summer. And then they could do it again a little bit in July. But really by the end of July, early August at the latest, we'll know what kind of direction the board's ultimately going to set. Because at the end of the day, the question is the board going to bring forward a referendum of some sort? That's basically the feedback that we're looking for from the survey, where people's palate is for that. So, are they going to bring something forward, and what exactly are they going to bring forward as it relates to that? So all those things will be kind of wrestled through and determined essentially, but by the end of summer. And then we'll start doing whatever we need to do associated with that direction.
See, that's one of the things, the FAQs that I've been asked around the community. And just because I think people know that we do this, if they're going to go to referendum, when are they going to do it? I mean, that's kind of to be determined, which election or when you go, because there's a lot of things you have to do to get that on the ballot and everything like that, right?
Yeah. So it would be the November election. Okay. If the board chooses to bring a referendum forward, and again, the exact context of that, is going to depend a little bit on the community palate and a little bit of us weighing out what those, maybe other audibles or considerations could look like. But I think this election is going to be unique, aside from the prospect of a referendum. But I think that these types of things might be opportunities for communities to at least wrap their head around something that just, whether they agree with it or not, right? Something that's a little bit more like logical and sensible, because I think there's going to be a lot of other, outside, rhetoric and conversation that's going to kind of cloud energy in unique ways. So I think these types of things are things that can actually bring communities together when there's a lot of things out there for whatever reason that tend to pull communities apart.
Sure, and I know, and obviously there's a huge voter turnout expected in the fall as well. So you're really going to get a pulse for what the community thinks. Like 2016 was the same way, I believe, right? You had that election, had a huge turnout, so you kind of really get a feel for what the voters think, and it's not like a select few that maybe only go out for certain elections.
Yeah,
so
it's a better rounded representation of your community when you have the opportunity to do that.
Beaver Dam Unified School District Superintendent Mark DiStefano here on Daily Dodge TV and 95. I almost said 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam, but I'm not going to ask you. I'm not going to ask you about the Packer draft.
Just don't say like WXRO.
That'd be all right. That wouldn't be finable right there.
Yeah.
A few other things, I guess, going on. Again, a reminder, get that survey in if you didn't. But
get the survey done, please, and thank you so much. And again, if you have questions, need a code, call the district office. 1114 gets you to Mary Postema. She's awesome. She'll help you out. If you want to talk directly to me, 1111, and I'd love to have that conversation, hear about where you're at, or if you heard something, or you want clarity, or you got the name of somebody you want me to try to get a hold of to talk to a little bit. Again, I'm not asking people to take the survey a certain way. I'm just asking people to take the survey. We just want that context. It's really important for us in the planning
They
process.
want your opinion. Now, hey, spring, you mentioned we're heading down the home stretch of the season, and I know my kids have been talking about testing and such. There's forward testing going on and some other types of testing. Yeah. It's that time of year, right?
It is, and I just want to remind people that a lot of these are required. It's part of the process. It's part of the accountability measures that the state has in place, and typically in a lot of areas our district does really well. I was just talking with somebody and reminding them that not only do all of our elementaries perform really, really well, but actually in Beaver Dam there's an elementary school that outperforms about 95% of all elementary schools in the state of Wisconsin, and outperforms any elementary school within 60, 70 miles. That's pretty awesome. So the testing part, it's a necessary, I don't want to call it evil, but necessary reality. There's also some other internal testing we do as part of our progress monitoring efforts. So it's not that we want to just test. Like, some of it's actually required, and some of it's also best practice. And it's just really important that kids are, well rested, that people understand it's always good whenever you have an opportunity to do your best on something, you do your best, right? So the more that families and other folks can encourage kids to do that, that's always great. And middle school is kind of wrapping up here over the next week and a half. High school is essentially done with their testing. And elementaries will wrap up here too, over the next couple of weeks. So it's part of how we have to do business, and getting a good, honest effort is important.
How many state? Because a lot of times people think that the district decide these tests. No, a lot of it is regulated down. It's you're doing what the state or the I don't know. Is there much federal? Is there many federal tests that federal education is mostly all what your state says?
Yeah, no. So it's a trickle down kind of regulation. Yeah. So essentially, like the feds say, okay, you have to do in general X, Y, Z, and then every state has the ability to interpret that, and then the state then applies whatever that kind of testing suite is going to be for, in our case, obviously Wisconsin.
Sure. So again, you're doing what you need to do, and you encourage your kids to do their best. That's what I did. My kids took the forward test today, Dad.
Yeah.
How'd you do? Did my best.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go. That's all you can ever ask for. So that's going on, but there's a slew of other things going on, and we kind of stopped and put together like this little list. And I heard my colleague Rich talking to Ninja yesterday, and he did a great job of kind of running through a list. I'm like, we need to have a list of some highlights, that way you don't miss anything. But we stopped the middle of May, because then I'll be on again, and then we'll talk about the things coming up. But I mean, just between right now in the middle of May, it's nonstop. It is absolutely nonstop with activities, and now when you talk about too the prospect of rain and if other events getting rescheduled, like those events don't necessarily get canceled, they get rescheduled, so that kind of further truncates the dead sprint that we essentially have this time of year. But a couple of big things really coming up. We've got District Jazz Festival, 7:30 p.m. That's actually tonight, so that's pretty exciting. April 20th. Is prom this year. So
got a date yet?
What?
Got a prom date yet?
No.
Got your tux?
No, I went to prom enough. So I'm on call and do a little walkthrough and check in on things. But yep, it's too expensive. So April 20th this weekend is prom, and the theme is the Garden of Glamour. The Grand March is 5:00 at the high school. But really asking folks that are listening to this. Please remind your kiddos to be safe, encourage the best possible decision making, have a process for checking in, make sure that they know how they're going to handle just certain situations like, hey, my date decided to leave early, like what's the plan, right? But having all those check-ins in place, we're dealing with, adolescents, we're dealing with young adults, and just knowing that, hey, if you need something, like if every child knows that if they need something or, get in a goofy situation, like you pick up the phone and, they're not going to hear the wrath, right? They're going to hear the love and support and appreciation that the phone call was made, that kind of thing. But it's a great event. It's really well organized. And kids will be out. They'll have a wonderful meal. It's a formal, beautiful event. Of course, there's Grand March beforehand. And then we've partnered with the Y of Dodge County, and we have a post-prom event as well, so that kids can play games, they're going to be able to swim, listen to music, etc. afterwards. So there's something positive, safe to do after the prom event. If kids, I don't know how they have the energy, but I did at one point in time. So if they want to kind of burn off some more energy and be in a really safe place to do that, they can attend the post-prom event. But we'll see about 300 kids at the formal prom event, which is it's pretty awesome, pretty spectacular.
Which is good. Like I said, it's always a great event that they have, and the way that they do it in the Beaver Dam Unified School District. I think Saturday as well is state. It used to be called forensics. It's like state speech. I believe there's a bunch of kids from the school district that are going to take part in that as well. April
21st is that, and then April 22nd, high school, middle school parent-teacher conferences. So sometimes, and I've been very much guilty of this, but it's spring and we're thinking, hey, there's only 8 weeks left or whatever else, and it's always good to connect. And Skyward, which is our online student management system, like checking the grades is not the same as having that conversation. So making sure that we're doing that. April 23rd, about WBEV Career Fair, hosted at Beaver Dam High School in the field house. So excited for that. A lot of other concerts coming up. We've got our Wall of Fame ceremony, annual Wall of Fame ceremony, recognizing Dr. Alan Earhart and the playground movement of Beaver Dam. So super exciting. State Solo Ensemble is coming up. We've got middle school math and literacy night on April 30th. There's a couple other blood drives scheduled. Again, we post all this stuff on social media as well, or on our website, so you can see these things. But FFA awards, the FFA plant sale, book your calendar, May 2nd through the 16th in the high school greenhouse. We've got Hispanic movie night on May 3rd. The Something Special from Wisconsin breakfast is May 5th. That's always something that people love to participate in.
Saw Mr. Gansky the other day at the soccer game. We were talking about that and how it's been going on for so long. And, the plant sale as well. I think we're going to get them on WBEV Hometown today to kind of talk about.
Great group to get on, and wonderful. You want to talk about leadership and students. I mean, the FFA organization is just a wonderful platform for kids to grow and their comfortability of speaking and just understanding kind of the decorum and how meetings or events and structure. So really awesome organization and really reflective of our region and the values and kind of that core foundation that agribusiness has. So, and then a number of other concerts. And then once we get to like that mid-May and beyond, it's senior awards night and scholarship events, and then we'll be talking about graduation and I'll start getting a little sad, but it's all good.
A shameless plug on our end too. If you want to know a little bit more about activities in athletics, I do a weekly. It's a straight up program now. Ryan Gerber, our fine director of athletics and activities. It'll usually today it posted this morning on dailydodge.com, but airs at 6:00 over on 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. We will go through all the weekly events, not only athletics but activities and things that are open to the public that you can go to as well. And I encourage you to search that out and you can really stay on top of all because there's so many great things going on in the district.
There are, and remember, our district it's the community's district, right? And if you look at it, our kids are involved in so many things that allow great opportunities for entertainment, for people, for fans, for spectators. It's also wonderful to see how many of our activities and clubs are always giving back. I mean, you think about these blood drives; these are coordinated and organized by student groups and organizations to benefit our community. You look at other outreach that they do in the community, whether it's helping make sure that people have meals or providing other service engagement opportunities. So really a lot to be proud of and a lot going on. So stay tuned and yeah.
All right, Mark, any last words for the people out there today? I know there's always opportunities to join the team, aren't there?
There are always opportunities to join the team. So we've got about 464 people on the team. We've got a really, really awesome retention rate, but there's always opportunities. So stay tuned in. We've got a walk-in Wednesday for folks if they just want to stop in at the ESC and interview or check out things. They can also always call our HR department. Dr. Nicole White's our HR director, does a great job. So if anybody has a question or maybe they know a prospect, a graduate, or somebody moving to town that might be interested in serving kids, let us know. It's always great. And then remember, it's really important to celebrate and message the good things that are going on. We tend to be fixated on things in our world, in our state that we don't like. We always talk about what we don't like too much, too often. So let's make sure we talk about what we do like. We talk about the value of our kids. We talk about how great of a place Beaver Dam is, and why a lot of us have chosen to raise our families here.
I enjoy the Beaver Dam Unified School District social media. I mean, the Facebook page, because it's a wide variety. Not only is there information on there, but you'll do things like you'll honor like certain staff members of the week, or or different things going on, or you'll post throwback pictures on.
Yeah,
there.
the throwbacks always get
I know Sierra Kuhn is one of our teammates. When she was there, I think in the late aughts. Like, hey, is that you, Kuhn? Just I think there's a lot of cool stuff in there that people can kind of reminisce and puts a smile on your face.
Yeah. Some of the black and whites, they just blow up on. I mean, it's amazing what kind of positive feedback we get from there. But I think Sierra's was a color picture. I believe she was. Yeah,
she's not that old yet.
I know.
So, Mark, again, if anybody has any questions about anything we talked about, or they have questions about the the facilities planning and the survey, or what's the best way to get in contact with you or the district?
920-885-7300, and you can either wait and listen to a receptionist, or you can punch in 1111. That's my direct line. If I don't pick up the phone, I don't sit in my office a lot during the day, but if I don't pick up the phone, I will call you back and we will have the opportunity to chat.
All right, Mark, you made it through your first television performance
feel
here.
Good. This makeup was starting to get a little crusty.
Is it? We don't have the bright lights in here. Ninja doesn't have the bright lights to shine on us quite yet, but this has been Let's Talk with Mark DiStefano from the Beaver Dam Unified School District. Mark, thanks for the time, and I'm sure we'll see you somewhere at a game or an activity or just around town.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, this is 95.3 WBEV and Daily Dodge TV.